All right, everyone, welcome to another deep dive. This time we're taking you to Japan.
The Sengoku period of Japanese history, to be exact.
Exactly. It's known as the Warring States period, right? And we got some amazing source material from you guys.
Really dives into how it all started and who the big players were.
Like you're telling me we're going to hear about samurai and warlords?
Oh, you better believe it. And even a peasant who rose all the way to the top.
Okay, now that's a story I want to hear. So our source material kicks things off with a pretty huge question.
How did the Sengoku period begin, and how did it end?
Yeah, how do you go from a relatively unified country to all-out war?
Well, it didn't happen overnight. Our source points to a couple of major events that really destabilized Japan. First, you have the Mongol invasions.
Oh, right. Kublai Khan and all that. Those were in the late 1200s.
That's right. Japan managed to repel them, but it took a toll on the country, especially on the shogunate.
The shogunate, that's like the military government, right? With the shogun at the top.
Exactly. The shogun was supposed to be the most powerful figure in Japan, but those Mongol invasions, they really weakened the shogun's authority.
And then, not too long after, you have the Onin War, right?
Right. That was in the 1400s. It was basically a decade-long civil war between rival factions within the ruling class.
So basically everyone is trying to grab as much power for themselves as they can.
It was a recipe for chaos. By the end of the Onin War, the shogunate's power had crumbled.
And I'm guessing that's where these daimyos come in.
Exactly. Daimyo were powerful regional lords who, before all this chaos, were kind of like under the shogun. But with the shogunate weakened, they saw their chance to seize power.
So it's every man for himself.
Pretty much. Our source mentions a whole bunch of these daimyo, the Satake, the Oda, the Takeda, the Hojo. The list goes on and on.
Wow. Okay, so these daimyo, they sound a lot like the warlords that the source keeps mentioning.
They are the warlords. They were constantly fighting each other.
Trying to grab land and power.
And followers.
Hmm.
They all wanted to become the new shogun and rule Japan.
So it wasn't just like one side against another. It was everyone against everyone.
Exactly. A massive, multi-sided free-for-all.
And to make things even spicier, these warlords started using some seriously powerful new technology.
Gunpowder.
Oh, yeah. Cannons, muskets, all that.
Things were changing on the battlefield fast. Armies were getting bigger. Battles were getting more intense.
And more dangerous. I bet those warlords had to be careful about who they trusted.
Absolutely. Betrayal was a constant threat. In fact, our source even mentions a warlord being betrayed by one of his own samurai.
Whoa. That's intense. Makes you think twice about who you call a friend, huh?
No kidding. In this kind of environment, you never knew who was really on your side.
Okay, so we've got all these power-hungry warlords battling it out, alliances shifting like sand.
And then comes Toyotomi Hideyoshi.
This is the peasant-turned-ruler we were talking about, right? What's his story?
He started as a foot soldier, believe it or not, but he rose through the ranks to become one of the most trusted generals of the powerful warlord Oda Nobunaga.
So he was talented. He had to be.
Oh, incredibly so. Not just a brilliant military strategist, but also a skilled diplomat. Our source mentions this crazy story where he convinced an enemy to surrender without even a fight, just by talking to them.
Seriously, talk about having the gift of gab. So what happened when Nobunaga died?
Well, that's when Hideyoshi really stepped onto the main stage. He managed to outmaneuver all his rivals and eventually unify most of Japan under his rule.
And that was the end of the Sengoku period, right?
Effectively, yes. Although there's one really interesting thing about Hideyoshi's story.
What's that?
Even though he was the most powerful person in Japan, he could never become shogun.
Wait, why not? He unified the country.
Because of his low birth. The title of shogun was reserved for those from noble families, and Hideyoshi, despite all his achievements, could never shake off his peasant origins.
Wow, that's kind of heartbreaking. So close, yet so far.
It really shows how deeply ingrained the social hierarchy was back then. But even without the title, Hideyoshi brought an end to decades of war and ushered in a new era for Japan.
So there you have it, the Sengoku period. Born out of chaos, fueled by ambition.
And eventually brought to an end by a peasant who defied all odds to rise to the very top.
It makes you think, like what other Toyotomi Hideyoshis are out there in history, or even today, people who come from seemingly nowhere.
But who, through sheer talent and determination, changed the course of events.
That's the kind of stuff that really makes you think. Thanks for listening to our deep dive into the Sengoku period. What a fascinating journey.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe this will inspire some of you to do your own deep dive into this fascinating period of Japanese history.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time.
See ya.